welcome back to my studio. It's lovely to have you here, and welcome if you haven't been here before. This is my beautiful studio here in Cumbria, and I spend a lot of time down here because it's very much my happy place to go to, because I get to play with fabric and threads, and I invite you in once a week to join me here. So I don't quite know where to start today because so many things have been happening this last week. It's been amazing. Those of you who get this magazine, this is called, I don't know if you can see it there, this is Be Creative, it is Be Creative. Sorry, I'm just having a mad moment there. It used to be called Be Creative with Workbox, that's what I'm getting confused with, and now it's called Be Creative, which I think is a fantastic title. It's a really lovely magazine. Can I just say this video is not sponsored by anybody, not them at all, but I just had to show you what's inside, which is me. This is a lovely article. I asked them very kindly if I could put a little bit of something in about my YouTube channel, because I really wanted people to know about it, because I think it's a lovely thing to be doing and showing people, and especially with everything that's going on in the world right now, I think this is like a sanctuary to come to, where there's some nice, peaceful, joyful, creative things going on. So what they did was they offered me a 2-page spread, so it's got lots of lovely photographs in, and obviously you guys know about this, that I'm on YouTube here, you know about this, but for those who don't, it's great, and it means perhaps more people will come and join us here. So welcome, welcome, welcome. If you've joined us because you've seen this article, thank you. It's great to have you here. The other thing that I told you about, I think in my last video, which I'm going to just talk about again now because it's very exciting. I have taught workshops in my studio for many years now, for about, I don't know, 8 or 9 years, maybe more, I can't quite remember. And it's been lovely because I have 4 people in here and we have a really lovely day, or I go out, say, to an Embroiderers Guild group, and I do a teaching session there. But it's all quite small, so that it's lovely, but it's small. And I think that what I've wanted to do for a long time is do some online workshops. So I found something called Course Craft, and it's a platform where you can upload your workshops, and I have spent a fortnight filming, editing and uploading my stuff onto this place. So if you go to my website, basically click on my workshops and you will get the chance to make a Christmas bauble like these ones here. I'm really proud of myself for doing this because it was a lot of work. I had to learn a lot of things. Doing the YouTube has been great because I've learned to do the filming, but I had to work out exactly how to do it. It's so much easier face to face, honestly, because I can respond to people, I can show you things, I can add things in. So I had to really think hard about how I did this. So if you're interested, it costs £35 and it's available to you to have in your home, to do at your speed, and just enjoy yourself making something pretty for Christmas, or, you know, using different colours. You know, you could be just adding this into your home as a decorative piece anywhere. So that's my exciting online workshops. There will be an article on those of you who know about textileartist.org, which is a fantastic resource for all things textile. If you haven't been there before, it's a website that was started up, I don't know, maybe about, 6 or 7 years ago by Sue Stone. She's a textile artist. Her sons set it up. Sam and Joe, I think they're called, set it up, and I had an article in it because I said, hey, how do I get on your website? I was really cheeky, and so I wrote a little story about what I do and how I got to be a textile artist. So basically I've updated that. It's a really whole new thing with lots of new photographs, and the whole website is such an inspiration. I do recommend that you go and dig it out. I'll put a link down below for you. I'll tell you exactly when it comes out. I will let you know because the article actually isn't live yet. They're just busy editing it for me and pulling it together in a very clever fashion. So, but that's another really exciting thing. And again, it's expanding what I do here, so that me sitting here talking to my camera, you know, has the potential to go further afield and just, you know, bring people together. I just love it. Anything that's creative, anything that's fabric, anything that's stitchy. You know, that's got to be a good thing, right? So today I'm going to be showing you how I finished off my lovely landscape that I started, and this is what it looks like now. I'm going to show you in detail how I did more stitching on it, how I put it all together, all the choices that I made, because that's what it's all about really, is you put the fabrics together and then you make choices about what fabrics you put together, how you put it together, what shapes you cut, and I just think it's exciting. So that's another exciting thing, and that's about it really from me sitting here talking to you. I will now show you how I finish this off. So now I've got some brown thread on my top spool, and I'm going to try and tackle this bit down here. It's a little bit tricky because it's quite textured and I'm not quite sure exactly how I'm going to do it yet. So I'm just going to do a little bit of stitching and see what happens. Slip that pin out. I kind of feel I want these lines not necessarily to be going this way across the beads. I kind of feel as though I want them to go a bit more sort of up and down a bit. It's a little bit tricky because I've got so many layers going on here now, because I've got the felt on here, and of course I've got that line of the felt underneath there, plus I've got this purpley stuff. So I'm just taking it real easy. That's the thing, people I think about pre-machine embroidery and you see somebody just absolutely whizzing it, and sometimes actually it's a bit like drawing. You've just got to just do it slowly, take your time, there is no rush. One of my mum's favourite phrases was, "What's the hurry? What's the rush?" I'm going to come onto this bit now, and I'm just going to waggle my way along here just to get this held in place a bit. I've only got pins in because I've got the stabiliser on the back of here. And I'm going to stop with that one actually, and I'm going to go to the far side of this, so we'll just cut that off there. Oops, it's a little bit tricky because it's kind of there, right. That's better. I can see where I'm going now. I was trying to do it backwards and I think that really wasn't working. This is so different to doing something where you've just got lots of flat fabrics down. If I just had all cottons down here, or you know, fairly flat things, this would be an absolute doddle. You know, you could really whiz along, but actually I quite like doing this kind of texture because I can just be a bit more experimental with how I'm stitching it. And I'm going to go along here a bit, and you just got to take your time. You cannot rush it, you just cannot rush it. Let's just stop there for a second. So this bit down here, bearing in mind I'm going to have some of the yarny bits kind of overlaying some of this down here. I'm not too worried about what I do on it, but I kind of just want to create a feeling of the land lying in different sort of, get the contours, that's the word, sort of lines across the land. Going to jump across that little bit there. I don't want necessarily to have the lines going all the way across to this bit. I just kind of want little hints of colour here and there, as though there's little bumps in the land. So I'm just doing little jumps there. If you do a few stitches and then set off again, you can just jump across. There we go. I'm going to stop, I'm going to have a look at that, and I'm going to see what colours next. Okay, so I've got an orangey thread in the top now. I'm just slowly working my way, feeling my way into this. I think the thing with anything you create like this, like a landscape, it's very, very personal to you. And sometimes it's about actually not adding as much stitching as you think. Just adding some colour in, adding a bit of texture. I think for me personally, this landscape really is about the fabrics as much as the stitching. So I'm just trying to just add a little bit of something else into it as I go along. But it's very personal, and it's quite a slow process because I'm sort of stopping and looking and feeling and assessing all the time. But I just thought, well, I would add some more colour into this bit. And then the other thing I want to do is I want to look at my mountain bit up here. What I don't want to do, you see, is I don't want to flatten it all out. I don't want to lose these lovely textural aspects. And there's a danger that if you do too much stitching, you lose the texture. But having said that, you could always add a bit more on top. If you lose with something like this, you don't lose it, you just can add a bit more on top. It's not very easy to unpick stitching like this, so best put something on top if you think you've messed it up or you don't like what you've done. And sometimes you have to just be bold and push through the barrier that's saying, oh, don't do any more, don't do any more, you've done enough. There's this sort of fine balance, I think, all the time. I suppose it's the same when you're painting or drawing or doing anything that's creative. I don't know whether you're adding decorations to a cake even. It's like, you know, how far do you go? Knowing when to stop, knowing that you've done enough. Or sometimes it's just pushing that extra, nudging that extra bit. And the danger is it can go either way. You can either go, oh, I really love it, or, oh no, I've ruined it now. So it's like a risky business, which is why I say take it slow, stop and look, feel into it. If necessary, step away from it, leave it for a day or two, come back to it when you've got a fresh eye and go. Especially I find if I'm trying to choose threads when I'm tired, say just before lunchtime when I've been sewing all morning, I know it's time to stop for lunch when I can't choose what colour threads to use anymore. So I think that's quite funny really. But it's like, you know, your head just goes, no, I'm not making any more decisions. Go and have a bowl of soup. I'm going to just take a risk up here. Ooh, I'm just being a bit risky here. So I'm just putting a little bit of extra stitching up here. Just here and there. And then I'm going to stop and have a look at it in a second. Just pull that back a little bit. Just start and get the feeling of it coming down into this bit as well, behind these little, I think this is a little row of trees. So I shall stop there and have a good look at it and see what I'm going to do next. You know, if anything. So I've come back up to the purple part of the mountains up here just because I felt as though this bit is lovely. I really love the texture, but I just felt it needed a little bit of extra colour mixing in with it. It's a bit like it's just one plain colour, although the texture is lovely. So I'm just going to add in a slightly different shade. And what I might do is I'll take that out into the other bits of the mountain as well. So you get a little bit of sort of what's the word? Coherence is the word, I think. Let's just have a little look at that. Yeah, I think that's okay. It's adding a little bit into the mix. You know, because the light on the landscape is always changing and shifting, and I think it's about trying to express that a little bit. But you know, I can look out of my window all through the day and the light and the colours just keep changing. And then if I take a little bit of that up into here, let's just have a little gander at that. Yeah, I think that's okay. It's just adding a bit more into the mix. Otherwise it was just a bit too samey. It was a bit too much of just this and just that. And sometimes it's quite good to put a colour in that you're not expecting. So you might go a bit wild and put a bit of something like that in suddenly, you know, or a bit of maybe, you know, you might pop a bit of orange in there somewhere, possibly not that quite that shade, but possibly something a bit darker or a bit of red, because, you know, when you look at the colours in the landscape, they're not necessarily what colours you think they are. You know, you have to really look hard to see the different sort of shades that are going on. And in fact, I think what I'm going to do is actually bring this down into here a little bit, and just to add a bit more depth and character to this bit. This is what I mean about how it grows and changes, and as you work with it, it's a process. You know, it's as much process doing this as it was sort of choosing the fabrics in the first place. Time for another assessment, I think. So looking at this bit, I really quite like that purple. It's very interesting how purple that looks on there and how kind of brown. It's all the same thread, but it looks quite brown against the purple and purple against the orange. So this is why I like to say take my threads and literally put them onto the fabric, you know, pull the thread out, look at it, feel what, you know, what it's saying to you, what the combination of the thread and the fabric is doing for you. I think that's really important. So down here, I'm just going to pull these little tree bits back again, just to make sure that, oops, I'll have to rethread that, but it's just to make sure that this fabric isn't sticking up too much behind these trees. I want to make sure it's really stitched quite firmly down so that it doesn't push these out too far. So I'll just rethread and I'll do that next. There we go, got that in there nicely. There we go. Right, let's start off again. It's such a pleasure sewing through these fabrics. They're really nice and soft. I'm going to stop there, I think, and I think I'm going to think about what other colours to add in. I'm not sure what I'm doing next. Let's have a look and see. So I'm set up now for the embellishing machine, which if you haven't seen an embellishing machine before, welcome to the most wonderful machine in the world apart from your sewing machine. It is just the bee's knees. In here I have got 12 really sharp needles. If you've done needle felting by hand, you'll know what I'm talking about. They're really pointed and sharp. There's no threads involved. All this does is the needles push down one fabric through the other, so that the fabrics kind of mesh together in a kind of felty fashion. So it's not like wet felting, but it ends up with the same effect in that the fabrics are meshed together, and it's really, really useful for doing this kind of thing. So I've got some yarns here that are quite loose, and this is just going to help hold them in place so that when I want to stitch into them, it's easier to do. So I'm not going to do very much embellishing because I actually want these threads to kind of stand up a bit, so I'm just doing a very little bit there. There you go. That's all I'm doing, literally. There are other videos if you want to watch some of my other videos. See, that's meshed it down quite a bit. I mean, I could mesh it a bit more over here if I want to, or I can add some more yarns on top of that, but what I really want to do is just stitch it a little bit in place, and then I've done this one over here already, because this is a bit of a hairy one to do. You have to really press this down. There we go. I'll show you the same sort of effect. It's a brilliant machine, honestly. It's just amazing. You can see there that it's pushed those fabrics through, so the fibres are coming through the back. Let's just see if we can see this one as well. A little bit there. You can see it's a ring. That's where the ring of the needles are. And it is a fantastic machine. So my next job then is simply to stitch these. So this stuff's a bit tricky to stitch because it's very easily snags onto things. It's quite thick as well. Just take that off the zigzag. So, oh, don't like the sound of that. Just a moment, chaps. Oh, haha, you will all laugh at me. Look at this. I'm going to show you what I've done. I didn't put my presser foot down. Ha ha ha. Would you like to see? Look. This is what happens when you don't put your presser foot down. There we go. Right, I'll have to sort that out. That's really funny. There we go, I've sorted that out. You see, that happens to everybody. I'm not, you know, you're not alone. If you forget to put your presser foot down, you are not alone. There we go. I'm not going to stitch this a lot because really what I want is I want this stuff just to stand up and be at the forefront of this landscape. So I'm just going to do possibly a little bit of stitching there just to hold it in place. I don't want a lot. It's not I always say it's not clothing I'm making. And it's got this little snagged around there a bit. Oh, there we go. This is all the fun of doing this in real time. You are seeing everything. I'm hiding nothing from you, really. I think I'd like a different colour thread though, so I shall change the thread for this one. So I've changed the thread, so I've got a slightly pinker thread on, and again I'm just going to stitch this really slowly. I don't want a lot of stitching on it because I just want it to really kind of just be there, but I think a bit of stitching is necessary to hold it in place. And I'm just trying to get sort of to the underneath bits and then leave a little bit of the yarn to kind of come on top. So it's a bit of a fiddle, and I'm just jumping across there, and that'll be fine. I think that'll do. So I shall stop there and I shall show you the whole caboodle now. Okay, so this is the landscape more or less finished. I've got a few little loose ends just to snip off here and there. I'm quite pleased with it. I love the colours. I love how it's just been created from, you know, such a random collection of fabrics that you perhaps wouldn't normally think of putting together. And I love how the colours have sort of blended, but there's a nice contrast going on. So we've got the dark and then this lovely flaming orange colour, and then I really like that we've got some nice texture going on in the foreground down here. I really didn't want these to be too pressed down. I wanted them just to be nice and loose, if you like, as though the landscape is going to kind of come out at you. And so, I'll tell you what I was going to do, was I was going to show you the back. Okay, I'm going to reveal all now to you. No secrets, as I said before, no secrets. This is the back. You can even see this bit where this bit folded up, the bit of the stabiliser folded up, so I've just added an extra bit on. And I might need to do a little bit of stitching along there probably to hold it in place better. You can see there's not a lot of exciting stitching going on there, but there's enough. You can also see the colour that I used in my bottom bobbin. I don't generally think it matters what colour you've got in your bottom bobbin, but I tend to use something that's going to blend in with the whole thing. Just then, if you do have problems with your tension, so for example there you can see there's a little bit of the pink coming through from the other side. If that was happening on this side and the colour was coming through, you know, if the tension wasn't right and it was pulling up through here, then it wouldn't matter so much. Obviously you don't want your tension not being right, but you know, it's not a disaster then if your bottom thread is something which tones in. So I'm just going to show you what it looks like as though I'm going to frame it, because I think this is really nice. This really kind of pulls it all together, and when I frame it I do want to make sure that these little bits kind of come out. I rather like that, and I think that really kind of makes it come together. I'll just put it down a little bit there just to give you a bit of, I can't quite get the whole thing in the there's the top. I can't quite get the whole thing in with the way I've got the camera set up, but never mind. So that's the landscape done. what's going to be next. I've no idea. I've no idea what we're going to see next week at all. I'm going to have a big tidy up in here. I think my studio's in a bit of a hoolie, what with one thing and another. It's been quite a busy fortnight. I've had a lot of things going on, as I said before. So watch this space, and I will look forward to seeing you again in my studio next week for whatever comes next.